Chapter 1.3 The Echo of Forgotten Dreams. John sat in the chair, his gaze fixed on the milky-white void beyond the panoramic window of the Nameless. Lilith's words, her wise reminder that the meaning was not in the destination, but in the flight itself, echoed in his mind. He felt something shifting inside him, as if the old, familiar framework of what to do was dissolving, giving way to a new, deeper question: who to be? It was a strange, almost blissful state, a calm curiosity within infinite nothingness. Lilith, as always, sat opposite him, her platinum hair shimmering faintly in the lounge's soft light. She didn't speak, merely observed him, her gaze as bottomless as the emptiness outside. That was when it began. At first it was barely noticeable, subtle flickers like pollen dancing in the distance. Then they grew denser, taking form, dozens, hundreds, thousands. They drew nearer, and John could hardly believe his eyes. They were butterflies. Millions of butterflies, their wings shimmering with every shade of an impossible spectrum. They did not fly, but rather flowed through the void like a living, pulsing stream. They resembled monarchs, but their wings were not woven of chitin and pigment. They were made of shimmering fragments of text, scraps of images, faint whispers and snippets of melodies. Each wingbeat left behind a trail of vanishing symbols, as if they were disintegrating into their components right in the air. "What is that?" John whispered, his calm giving way to pure, unfiltered awe. Lilith abruptly straightened. Her usually indifferent face twisted into an expression John had never seen before, a mix of shock, recognition, and perhaps fear. Her eyes, normally cold and analytical, widened, reflecting the swarm of shimmering beings. "No, that can't be." Her voice was low, almost inaudible, but it rang with panic. It's a migration, a data migration. I've seen this before, in my world. It's when the system starts dumping memory, when old plots, old lives begin to search for an exit." She stood up, her movements sharp, uncharacteristic of her usual grace. They're looking for an entry point, a place where reality is thin enough to break through. Our airship, it's too real. The butterflies, or what seemed to be butterflies, now covered the panoramic window, their shimmering bodies creating a kaleidoscope of senseless symbols. They struck the glass without a sound, yet their collective energy pressed upon them like rising pressure. The airship shuddered, not from turbulence but from something deeper, more fundamental. The metal groaned, not like metal but like text being rewritten. "What are they doing?" John tried to stand, but his legs gave out beneath him. They're trying to find their way home," Lilith whispered, her gaze fixed on one especially radiant butterfly whose wings were woven of a repeating fragment of code John couldn't understand, but felt carried a monstrous significance. "Or, they're trying to make a home, out of us." Suddenly, without warning, the milky-white void outside the window began to change. It did not redden as it had in Zargan, nor distort. It shattered. The sky cracked like old glass, and through the fissures seeped a dim, dirty light. Sounds, distant rumbling, the screech of metal, cries, bled through the cracks like water through a dam. The airship trembled harder. The lounge's neon lights flickered, then died, leaving them in twilight lit only by the butterflies' glow. The floor beneath John's feet grew soft, pliable, as though he were stepping on damp, rotting fabric. "Hold on," Lilith cried, but her voice was drowned by the swelling roar. The butterflies seemed to merge into a single, pulsing mass, wrapping around the airship. It felt as though they were being drawn into a colossal vortex made of pure, chaotic narrative. John felt his own consciousness beginning to unravel, his thoughts fracturing into scattered, meaningless words that were instantly carried away. The last thing he saw before darkness consumed him was Lilith's face. In her eyes there was no longer fear, only grim, almost fatalistic acceptance. And within that acceptance John glimpsed a flicker of something he could not understand, but which felt unbearably, painfully familiar.